Okay. I've noted your question. Let me get the second question and answer them together. Okay. Okay. I'll take the next round together and then, so let me answer these two, then I'll take the next. So 1, 2, those are the next questions I'm taking. To answer the first question, this depends on the program. We try as hard as we can to ensure that you're not arguing all 4 rounds on the same day because you'd be tired. But if by some design our maths didn't work and that happens, please flag it and we will see how best we can accommodate you because we do want you to perform at your best. So ideally, you shouldn't have all 4 rounds on the same day. Maybe you'll have 3 on the same day, but if that's the case, they won't necessarily be one after the other, so as to ensure that you have time to breathe. Then the second question was about the right of rebuttal for the applicant. The applicant has a right of rebuttal in the African Moot. It is always observed. And the rules stipulate the amount of time that is possible to be reserved for that. However, the respondent does not have a right of sur rebuttal. So there's an applicant's rebuttal, but there's no sur rebuttal for the respondent. Okay. Then 2. English. Oui. English, then you can pose it to them as well in French.
I don't know how many teams we have for the semi-final for the 4 teams.
I think I stand to be corrected, but I take it on good authority that from 11, that's if all the teams are here, from 11 we're going straight to 2. There's no quarter. Prelims, semi. Yes. Yeah. You should have 11. If everyone is here, the people who registered. 2. Look at it this way. English has north of 36. So let's say 38 if everyone showed up. They have 38, and from 38 they're going to 8. So there's no way of properly making it work for everyone because of time, mainly. But the way that we've made the preliminary round work is such that you exhaust your chances. So you're not going to argue once on applicant, you get to argue twice. So that means you have a chance to repair any mistakes you feel you made in your first round for applicant, and the same for respondent. Yes, please. Thank you so much. I hear you fully. I understand the arguments that you raised. They were all very valid. And some of the members of the steering committee are in the room. And I'm taking it that we've taken note of these things and we'll take it under advisement and we'll come back to you as teams as to what the steering committee decides.
From 11 teams for the semi-final, it's possible to go with 4 teams for the semi-final. Because from 11 to just 2 teams, I think it's not fair. It's possible to go to the semi-final with 4 teams.
Okay. Simpire, can you just note these things down for me? Thank you. There was a hand on this section. Yes, please. I've noted this down, Samson.
Thank you very much. I wanted to ask, what is the time allocated to the speakers for the competition? I just wanted to be sure that the time still remains the same. That's 1. 2, are we allowed to use gadgets or paper when we are making our arguments? And then 3, if it's possible, since we are all arguments. And then 3, if it's possible, since we are all asking for a review, can there also be a review of the number of English teams that will progress to the quarter? Thank you.
So it is still 20 minutes per speaker with maximum 5 minutes for rebuttal. No speaker can speak for less than 10 minutes, as the rules say. Oh, I started a can of worms. Hold on. Clarify, question. Yes, you can clarify? Okay, I'll address it. Okay, thanks for the reminder. I'll address that once I've clarified on the time. Is that a time question in the region over there?
Sorry. On the rules, though, on the rules, it did say 30 minutes in total for the preliminary rounds.
Yes, and that's why I opened the rules next to me so that I could refer back to them. Okay. Sorry, right. Wrong competition.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna move quicker now. The rules are the golden key. What's in the rules goes. 30 minutes. The other question was about devices. Please avoid the use of devices in a suspicious manner. That brings me to my point about good sportsmanship. We encourage participants to be people of integrity so as to uphold the name of the profession. So that means you cannot be texting during the round. You may ask for permission from your judge president to have your phone on the desk, probably for timekeeping, but we prefer that you don't. The main reason for this is that you have been practicing your timekeeping skills in your internal rounds, and as such, you must have the art of knowing where you are in your arguments. And there's a bailiff whose sole purpose in the room is to do timekeeping. So it undermines the purpose of the bailiff for us to always have to come back to this point of, can I timekeep for myself, if that makes sense. Then we prefer that you use paper for your arguments. Laptops, we cannot ascertain if you are just reading what you wrote or if you're Googling the answers that the judges are asking. So no electronic devices for your presentations. Just a few housekeeping rules. Punctuality will be very important. The group, if you haven't joined, please see me after this so that you get the QR code to scan so that you can join. If one of your team members is already in the group, they're able to add you, so please do that. I will make a call for missing teams for a period of no longer than 10 minutes. And if the round starts and you do not show up within 5 minutes, which then makes the wait time a cumulative amount of time of 15 minutes, you will have to forfeit that round. It will be unfair for us to give you an extended period of time because other rounds depend on that round running on time. So I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for us to be where we need to be when we need to be. As usual, and this should go without saying, no scouting. If you are caught attending the round of a team that is not your own, for example, there are some teams that come with observers, your observer is not allowed to be in a courtroom where you are not, especially in the preliminary rounds. So let's say you are done with all your rounds and you just want to chill and watch other people. If it's in the preliminary rounds, it is not allowed. In the semi-final rounds, however, if you have been disqualified from participation by virtue of not making it through, you are welcome to go and watch your friends. But if you are participating in the semi-final rounds, you therefore may not go and watch the round of another team because that is scouting. So basically, do not be found where you should not be. If you're still a participant in the team and you're not speaking in that courtroom, you're not supposed to be there. What is the penalty for scouting? Immediate disqualification. And one last thing, and this goes to both participants, judges, bailiffs. This year, we have color-coded score sheets. Green and yellow. I don't remember which one is which. Green, I think, is applicant, and yellow is respondent. Of course, I will communicate this with the judges so that they don't mix it up, and I'll communicate the same with the respondents. But just so there's transparency and everyone is aware, green, yellow, not to be mixed up. I will take 3 or 2.5 burning questions, absolutely burning. 1, 2, half a question.
Okay. So my question is just with regards to a shuttle service. Is there going to be one coming from the residents to get us here on time? Because otherwise, I don't know how we're going to, we're all foreigners, you know?
Yeah. All right, let me just get the other question as well,
In your penultimate submission, you made a slight but significant change to what is contained in the rules on scouting. The rules specifically indicate that you are not expected to view the session of a team you are scheduled to meet. That phrase, a team you are scheduled to meet. So your submission works for the semi-final because then you could meet any of them. But for the preliminary rounds, that is what is stated. If you could clarify that, please.
Okay, thank you for the 2 questions. Okay, I'll come to you after I've answered. I stand by what I said about scouting, purely for the reason that we don't know what you and another team may have agreed on because maybe you're country mates. And in order to just minimize the opportunity of bad spirit and bad blood amongst us, we prefer that you don't. Shuttles. I will ensure, as is best in my power, that the shuttle buses are on time to take you from breakfast at your residences to where the rounds begin, at least half an hour before the beginning of rounds. And in that same spirit, I then encourage you, if your round is at 11, it is better for you, I'm waiting for a shuttle for my round at 11, that all your applicant rounds are on the first day and all your respondent rounds are on the second day. I hope that helps to clarify your question. In the absence of any pressing questions, I will allow you to message me. You can message me. My name is Mati, again. So even on WhatsApp, when you go into the group, you can find my name, Mati, and you can send your questions to me. And if I think that everyone needs to know, I'll also address it in the WhatsApp group. Otherwise, during the evening, as you see me, please, or myself or one of my colleagues, please let them know. Those who didn't get these lanyard thingies, name tags, or needed corrections, please see Carol, the lovely lady who's waving them at the back. Hold on. And if you have not yet joined the WhatsApp group, come to me, we scan the QR code and you join it, please. Is it death, do or die? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Receive any message on the group. Many of us even missed the bus today. So what time should we expect the message? If it's coming late, then what is the plan for a Wi-Fi to be available at the hostel so that when it comes in, we can get information about it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So on that point, I will ask that our hosts make a time available for people with accommodation concerns to be addressed. So that's on the accommodation front. About what time we will communicate, the information is already ready. So within an hour to 2 hours, you should have it. So you'll still be on main campus. But we will strive that you get this information before you leave main campus. It is up to you to please make sure you're on the WhatsApp group. It's quicker to get information to you. And if you don't see a WhatsApp, you're likely not going to see your email. Type of logic. Absolutely last question. Because
yeah, it's not actually a question, but just to reconfirm on time allocation, that the rules are not yet changed, that one speaker is not allowed to speak for more than 50 minutes, 50% of the allotted time. So one speaker can speak for 25 minutes and the other speaker speaks for 5 minutes. So maybe you want to make clarification about that.
Thank you for that. I'll express it differently in that, like I said, one speaker cannot speak for less than 10 minutes. So that's the rule of thumb. Everyone must have minimum 10 minutes. So you cannot speak for 8 minutes and give the rest of your time to your partner. Yes? All right. Thank you so much, everyone. The program for the opening ceremony will be getting started soon. I'll ask one of our hosts to advise us as to how we're moving from here. Judges or faculty reps, thank you for your long-term service. Things will work relatively the same way as they have from previous years. There's also a WhatsApp group for you, for your schedules. If you have not joined, please advise me so that I help you get onto it. And I will put the program or the judging schedule on that group.
Thank you.
Oh, is that me?
All right, we'll be starting the opening ceremony very soon. Well, can I have some of the volunteers join me here? Can I have about 4 of them? 4 volunteers, please. All right, so before we begin, just a quick reminder again. Please don't leave your personal belongings anywhere, even when you're using the washroom. And if you do want to use the washroom, kindly alert any of our volunteers in the black and white. So even if you are leaving to the washroom and you have not assigned anybody to look after your personal belongings, take it along with you. Unless you have assigned somebody to take a look or keep an eye on them, do not leave your personal belongings unattended. Kindly heed to this so we don't have any other unfortunate incidents. So please, either you have somebody take a look,
it's not cable.
Is it not connected?
No, I'm not sure.
Is it not
It's not going away and
getting to the
tripping people.
cameras. The
That's
cameras
what, listen,
mount there needs
listen,
to be feed.
listen, that's why
Please,
you
you
don't
relax,
see
relax.
our own.
I
That's
hope
why
the
you don't
microphone is
see.
on.
It's not on. It's not on.
Just relax.
It's
I'll
not on.
align the microphone for you.
It's not on. That's what I'm saying. That's why we don't see our wires, because people have been tripping.
Remember an occasion I
So
have
far,
been
nobody
here
has
before.
nobody has
that
tripped on you.
me,
Doesn't
my
mean some people have
microphone
not
or
tripped.
My cable has caused someone to trip.
I didn't say yours. I'm just saying it's something. I never said yours. I didn't say your own has made somebody trip. I said somebody could trip. You're not causing a scene.
Setting up. So
You're
let me
not causing
finish.
a scene.
Let me finish setting up and you know that no one will trip. Yes, I have. You understand? Thank you.
Well, can we please settle? We'll have our dignitaries processing very soon. So can we please settle? Can we clear the aisle? Can we have our volunteers help clear the aisle? Can we clear the aisle, please? Eddie, could you please clear the aisle? Please kindly clear the aisle. Volunteers, please help clear the aisle. With your permission, can we all be upstanding to receive our dignitaries? Can we all be upstanding to receive our dignitaries? Please remain upstanding. Please be seated. Thank you very much. A wonderful evening to all of you. Dasibro Osebos to the second, occupant of the silver stool, Nana Mampohine Akwaba. We'd like to welcome Her Ladyship, Akwaba. We'd also like to welcome the Vice Chancellor, Akwaba. We'd like to say good evening to the Registrar, Akwaba. To the Provost, Akwaba. To the President for the Ghana Bar Association Ashanti Region, Akwaba. Belated birthday. Greetings to you, by the way. All our friends from the Commission of Human Rights, Akwaba. To all our gallant teammates from various countries who have joined us this evening, we say Akwaba. Welcome to the KNUST. I hope your visit and your stay has been good so far. Has it been good? It hasn't been good? It has been good. Well, please give the Vice Chancellor and her management a round of applause for the reception she's given you so far. Without much ado, I'm going to call our Protestant chaplain, Reverend Echampon, to give us the opening prayer.
May I please crave your indulgence for us to stand and pray. Almighty and ever-living God, we praise and bless your holy and mighty name for the gift of our lives and the gift of today. We thank and bless you, for it is in you we live, move, and have our being. We thank you for how far you have brought us even today. We continue to give you all the glory and the praise for the 32nd edition of the Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court competition. We thank you for all the planning and all that has gone into making it a reality. We continue to praise you for all the journey mercies you granted each and every one herein gathered. We thank you for all the activities that has taken place so far, and even as we have gathered here for the official opening ceremony, we invite the presence of your Spirit to lead, guide, and direct all that we will do here. And by that, we are committing the entire program to you, asking that you be with us, guide, and direct us, so that it will be very successful to the glory of your name. Thank you for hearing our prayers through Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen. Thank you. Please sit.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Well, KNUST is very happy to be hosting this year's Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court competition. This morning we had the conference. We had a breakout session, very informative, almost heated. It was very successful. This evening we are gathered here at the Great Hall to have the official opening ceremony to usher in the competition, which will start tomorrow. We're going to have a very special session right now. It's called the flag ceremony. I hope the teams are ready. Are we ready for the flag ceremony? All right, so we're going to skip that. and call the Vice Chancellor to give her opening ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Professor Mrs. Rita Akosua-Dixon, the Vice Chancellor for the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
Thank you very much, Anita. The guest of honor, His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the Asantehene and the Chancellor of our great university, ably represented by the Mampohene and the occupant of the silver stool, that's Sibre Nana Osaibonsu II, who happens to be a former registrar of this great and noble university. I think you can clap for hearing that, you know. Thank you. Thank you very much. The keynote speaker, Her Ladyship, Justice Sophia Abena Akufu, a retired Supreme Court judge and a former Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. The conference keynote speaker, Ms. Mercy Labi, Deputy Commissioner, Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Mr. Godfrey Dami, the Minister for Justice and Attorney General, Mr. Yao Buafo, who is the President of the Ghana Bar Association, Pro-Vice Chancellor, the Registrar, Finance Officer, Provost of Colleges, Deans and Directors, Heads of Department, the clergy, distinguished members of the university community, of course, our great guest of the university coming from all the 17 African countries, our friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all. I just greeted, I said good afternoon to you all. Thank you very much. It is with much pleasure and excitement that I welcome you all to the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, adjudged by the Times Higher Education 2023 Impact Rankings as the best university in the world. I said the best university in the world. Thank you. In terms of quality education based on the Sustainable Development Goal 4, we extend a warm welcome to you all to Kumasi, the garden city of West Africa and the seat of culture in Ghana, with a rich history of the Ashanti Kingdom. We are very certain that you would enjoy your stay here, as well as the enviable hospitality and warmth of the Ghanaian. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as you may be aware, the Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court Competition is Africa's largest gathering of students, academics, and judges around human rights in Africa that was created in 1992. This annual event brings together faculties of law across Africa whose students argue hypothetical human rights cases as though they were before the African Court on human and people's rights. Nana Chairman, this year's Moot Court is under the theme, The Africa We Want, Combating Discrimination, Climate Change, and Corruption. This theme gives food for thought regarding contemporary issues on the continent. The hypothetical case that participants would seek to unravel addresses matters relating to corruption, sexual minority rights, and harmful practices to the environment. It is important for Africa to address these challenges, to see the continent endowed with so much natural resources, talents, and intellectuals continue to make progress. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, over the years, KNUST's Faculty of Law Moot team has participated in and won several laurels at various Moot Court competitions, including the Christof Heyns Africa Human Rights Moot Court competition. As you may know, KNUST is the competition's defending champion, and the formula, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, is very simple: host and win. Thank you very much, and we want to stand by that. Our splendid performance in the 31st edition of the competition in Cairo, Egypt, last year was very remarkable, and we intend to build on that. I am glad to inform you that at the 31st edition, we won so many awards. The best written memorial for the applicant and the respondent. The first and second, please, as I mentioned them, you clap, okay? The first and second best oralist in advocacy skills, as well as the English-speaking team with the highest score at the end of the preliminary round. Additionally, KNUST topped both the quarter and semifinals and was also ranked as #1 out of the 38 participating English universities. The only faculty of law in the competition's history to win all categories in 1 year is the KNUST Faculty of Law. I cannot be proud of them enough. With these achievements, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our Faculty of Law is the current winner, of course, the reigning continental champions of legal education and courtroom advocacy. Thank you, thank you. Nana Chairman, the Faculty of Law is poised to maintain these wonderful achievements it chalked in Cairo, Egypt. Indeed, we are very proud to host this edition, the 32nd one. KNUST is hosting, though not Ghana's first hosting opportunity, is the first outside the capital city, Accra. And as a university, we deem it an honor than us to host this event. Overall, KNUST is hosting law faculties from 61 universities drawn, as I said earlier, from 17 African countries. at this event. Oh, I think it deserves a bit of a clap. Yes, thank you. This year's Moot Court competition and conference promises to be an experience of a lifetime. We encourage all our wonderful participants to make the most of it. We have many exciting activities lined up for you, which you will find very educational, entertaining, and refreshing in every sense of the word. Whatever you do whilst you're here with us, please ensure that you have fun. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of His Royal Majesty, Tumfo Tutu II, the Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and on behalf of Nana, with us representing the Chancellor and the entire university community, I warmly welcome you all to the 32nd Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court Competition. Working together with you, we assure you of a home away from home. Do please relax as much as you can and take it all in during this informative and exciting competition. Thank you all very much, and once again, Akwaba. Thank you.
Let's hear one more time for the Vice Chancellor. Well, as she said, we are hosting about 17 countries this competition. So let's get to know ourselves. I'll not be able to mention all 61 universities that's registered for this competition. Let's do it country by country, which is fair, right? All right, so let's say hello to Angola. Do we have Angola here? Angola? All right, maybe they'll be joining us soon. I hope they get in before the competition starts tomorrow. Botswana. Oh, but we didn't see. That was a very weak wave. Please be upstanding so we can acknowledge you more. Thank you very much, Botswana. Thank you very much for being here. Burkina Faso. Wow, that's a large contingency. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. La Côte d'Ivoire. Thank you all for being here. Ethiopia. Woo! I like that. At least they brought their flag. All right. Thank you so much, Ethiopia. Ghana. University of Ghana. KNUST. I know Wisconsin is here as well. So Ghana is still host and win, but it will remain here. But thank you very much for coming. All right, can we have Kenya? Welcome, Kenya. Mozambique. Good, thank you so much for being here. That's very gallant, I like it. Thank you so much. Nigeria has a very tall list. I hope I see more. Nigeria. Yeah, Nigeria with attitude always. I like it. DR Congo. Hello. Senegal. Okay, we'll wait for them at the airport today. Sierra Leone. Hello, Sierra Leone. Okay, so another tall is South Africa. Thank you all for being here. Tanzania. Tanzania. Uganda. Uganda. Hello, Uganda. Zambia. Zambia. Hello, Zambia. And last but not least, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe. Did I miss any country? Oh, I'm good. We are good? Then let me officially say Akwaba. We learned it today. When I say Akwaba, what do you say? Medase. Thank you so much. All right, so without much ado, I'm going to call the Dean for the Faculty of Law and the Chairman for the Steering Committee for the local steering committee, of course. And he's going to give us a briefing of what has happened, months and months and months of meetings. Please welcome Dr. Chris Adomako Kwache.
Thank you very much. Nana Chair, I would crave your indulgence to rely on the protocol already established by the Vice Chancellor. I am delighted to welcome you to our great university, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, voted the best university in the world regarding providing quality education. You are indeed in the best university, and we promise you very exciting times within this 1 week that we host you. The city of Kumasi is known for its cultural significance, and it is the cultural heartland of Ghana. It is a vibrant city, bustling city that offers a rich blend of tradition, history, modernity. Indeed, one such cultural significance is the traditional stew, which ushered all into the university community. Kumasi is a city with diverse experience, suiting people of all various tastes and interests. I hope you will enjoy and learn more about the nature, craftsmanship, local life, and history this unique city offers. The Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court competition offers an opportunity to law faculties in Africa to compete and argue a hypothetical case concerning human rights under different themes every year. The competition has played an invaluable role in establishing the important program in the field of human rights, education, and research in Africa. This year's Moot Court is under the theme, the Africa We Want, Combating Discrimination, Climate Change, and Corruption. The hypothetical case tackles corruption, sexual minority rights, and harmful practices to the environment. Corruption diverts resources meant for the development of society into personal gains. It is important to note that the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and the Southern African Development Community, SADC, and the African Union, AU, have each established protocols on corruption. These protocols are meant to fight corruption. The AU, for example, argues that its fight against corruption has contributed significantly to the ongoing transformation of economies across the continent and reinforces the determination towards achieving inclusive and sustainable development as envisaged in Africa Agenda 2063. Despite these protocols and then the advertised efforts to fight corruption, these steps have hardly delivered any tangible gains. Corruption is still rife as ever on the continent. Tafihaka, for example, has described corruption as, quote, Africa's undeclared pandemic, end quote, which has devastated economies within Africa. Sexual minority rights have become a contested issue in some African countries, including Ghana, with the current draft bill before Parliament on proper human, sexual, and Ghanaian family values. The draft bill has prompted heated controversy with parties for and against the proposed law. Those against the bill argue that the provisions of the bill violate international human rights laws, conventions, and other documents that safeguard and preserve the interests of the minority. Those who support the bill's passage argue that keeping traditional cultural values is important and should not be sacrificed on the altar of human rights. Where do we draw the line? I am happy that the participating universities will evaluate the LGBTQ+ agenda in the context of law and culture. The debate has begun in Ghana, and the participants in addressing the hypothetical problem will seek to propose a plausible proposal to address this dichotomy. Harmful environmental practices abound in Africa. Bradshaw and D. Minim, in their article titled, quote, African Countries and the State of Their Environment, the Best and the Worst. They argue that Africa's ecological systems are facing mounting pressures. Notable among them are the wanton destruction of forest cover and water bodies, among others, with severe adverse climatic conditions. The degradation of the environment is serious because the quality of human life is fundamental to a healthy environment. Through this competition, I hope the participating universities will offer probable solutions to address the challenges for all of us to get the Africa we want. On behalf of the management of KNUST, I wish you a very safe stay and enjoy your stay. With these few comments, I warmly welcome you to the Garden City of West Africa and our great university, Akwaba.
Thank you so much, Doc. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when you were coming to Kumasi specifically, you must have heard that we are very large on our culture. Our culture means so much to us. So let's give you a treat of the Ashanti region. And speaking of treats, when you get to the KNUST, one of our biggest treats is the legendary Ejakonimo. A round of applause for him. Well, a round of applause. I'm going to attempt to explain the dance. You just saw the dance called Kete. Kete is a royal dance, and I think the term all protocol observed came from this dance. So they begin, you move straight to authorities and hand the entire world to authorities, and you turn your back. I don't know how I'm going to explain it again. Yes, there's a gentleman behind who just demonstrated that they took from left, from right, and they handed it to Dasebre. That's all protocol observed. We'll have another treat, but we'll continue. And yeah, before I forget, I think you're going to Menchia Palace on Friday. You're going to have an amazing time at the palace. I'd like to invite, to be in her stead, I think she's having some problems getting in, but I'm going to invite Mr. Lloyd Kuvoyo to give a speech on behalf of Professor Showman. Well, she's the Dean for the Faculty of Law, University of Pretoria. So please give Mr. Lloyd a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Anita. Your Royal Highness, please allow me to also adopt the protocol established by the Vice Chancellor and say all protocols observed. Professor Schoolman is on her way from the airport as I speak. She has sent her apologies. She had challenges with her connecting flights, and that is the reason why she was unable to join us for the opening ceremony. However, she has asked me to read a speech, which I have graciously accepted. It is a privilege and an honor to offer a few words of context and appreciation on this occasion of the 32nd Moot competition, which has been named the Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court Competition, after Professor Christof Heyns, erstwhile Director of the Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria, which also prides itself as being the best faculty of law in Africa. The Moot Court Competition is the most significant annual gathering of students, scholars, and judges engaging at this level with human rights in Africa. This event brings together different generations from students to judges, aiming to grow human rights lawyers, scholars, and advocates for the future by tapping into the knowledge, expertise, and experience of those who have walked the road of human rights challenges and triumphs in their journeys on the African continent as well as globally. Since its inception in 1992, 170 universities from 47 countries have participated in this Moot competition. The competition, through its diverse hypothetical case scenarios, has contributed immensely to research and education in human rights by highlighting challenges and problem areas across the continent. This has given rise to the establishment of some of the most important and valuable programs in the field of human rights education and research in Africa, often bringing together different partners across Africa, resulting in fruitful collaborations and deliberations. This competition has indeed brought African law schools together in the quest to advance human rights scholarship, education, and advocacy across the African continent, something that we should all take credit for and be very proud of. There are few geographical regions in the world, let alone continents, that are so united in the pursuit of justice through a human rights lens. We have created indeed a strong platform that is growing stronger each year. I am sure that as I speak on behalf of all present here this evening, I would like to thank and express my appreciation to our hosts, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, for hosting the Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court Competition here in Kumasi this year. By hosting this competition, Vice Chancellor, you make a very strong statement in regard to your commitment to the advancement of human rights on the continent, and we applaud you for that, as well as for your hospitality and generosity of spirit. Thank you very much. It is indeed always good to reflect briefly on where it all started. The first African Human Rights Moot Court competition was held in Harare in September 1992. Law teachers and students from about 29 universities in African countries south of the equator participated, as well as the chief justices or their representatives of 9 of these countries. The theme of the competition was Southern Africa, from human wrongs to human rights. The question that automatically pops into our heads this evening is, how far have we come? While I don't have enough time this evening to provide a comprehensive account, I can say with conviction that we are firmly on the road to human rights, and that much has been accomplished in terms of raising awareness and advocacy, as well as education, research, and the promulgation of many human rights instruments across the continent through the African Union and the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Importantly, there's a strong transnational and collaborative will across the continent, and therefore I say, together we are stronger. And yet, despite all these achievements, there are still some serious challenges on the human rights front. The conference that was held this morning indeed highlights some of those challenges. Sexual and gender minority rights in Africa continue to be an issue. The scourge of corruption that has ravaged our continent continues to be an issue. The problem of environmental degradation and injustice also continues to be an issue. I will start to just say a bit about sexual and gender minority rights in Africa. Although human rights advocacy to advance equality based on sexual orientation and gender identity has gained momentum in Africa, the continent presents a legal landscape that is still divided on this particular issue, as has already been stated by the acting dean. And this ranges from countries where legal protection and equality for sexual and gender minorities is established or is growing, to countries with laws that explicitly prohibit consensual same-sex acts. And one such country that I can mention is Uganda, which recently promulgated an anti-homosexuality act. Some of the reasons for the retrogression as far as protection of sexual and gender minority rights is the issue of strong religious, cultural, and traditional conservatism, as well as notions about African values, as we heard in the conference this morning. One, however, would want to pose a question. What is African values? Is hate, prejudice, violations of your neighbor's dignity an African value? On the contrary, African values are about inclusion, the spirit of Ubuntu, human dignity, tolerance, and acceptance. But even in countries where there's legal protection for sexual and gender minority rights, threats to life, violence, and abuse, and many forms of discrimination still persist. Therefore, it is very clear that on the issue of sexual and gender minority rights, a lot still needs to be done. Issues affecting sexual minorities must still be debated, researched, and discussed. The current state of the law, the interplay between the current laws and policies, politics, religion, and culture need to be deeply probed to carve out solutions that are contextual, whilst at the same time protecting minority rights. On the issue of environmental protection, the environmental challenges facing us is probably one of the most debated topics globally. I need not repeat all the warning signs, some of which have already turned into environmental disaster realities, threatening the livelihoods and health of entire populations across the globe. Significantly, Africa bears the brunt of many of these challenges, from severe droughts, flooding, rise in temperature, and so on and so forth. The 13th goal in the Sustainable Development Goals indeed focuses on taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Challenges such as lack of accountability, funding, weak leadership, legal and institutional frameworks, and high levels of poverty and inequality must be addressed if this world is to successfully save the planet and to save humanity. Saving lives, livelihoods, and the environment therefore requires our urgent and collective action, and it is indeed our collective responsibility. On the issue of corruption and its impact on human rights, we are aware of many forums discussing financial accountability and sustainability, which directly links to corruption and poor governance. This in turn impedes development and the upliftment of the poor, which directly impacts issues of equality. Conversations around the intersection of corruption with human rights are diverse and require research on topics such as how to achieve transparency and accountability in Africa, curbing illicit financial flows, whether African countries are committed to fighting corruption, and whether governments across the continent have the political will towards that cause. Importantly, citizens must be convinced of the goods that will come from curbing and even eradicating corruption in striving for equality in respect of means and livelihoods. These are serious challenges, and human rights discourse is more important than ever. I cannot think of a single sphere of life or area of law where human rights are not relevant. It has indeed become a universal language that must infuse all these debates and discussions. Therefore, the Christof Heyns Africa Human Rights Moot Court competition remains crucially important. When we look at where participants in this event have gone, we find a significant number of them who have subsequently graduated from programs such as Masters in Human Rights offered by various universities and centers across the world, including the Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria. Other participants have taken up positions with the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, the African Court on Human and People's Rights, the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of Children, or have become human rights lawyers and human rights activists across the continent and indeed at a global level. We also know that many former participants of this moot court competition are involved with the United Nations and the African Union, and some occupy positions in academia, national governments, as well as the judiciary. To the participants of the 2023 Christof Heyns Moot Court competition, you must follow in the footsteps of former participants who are actively contributing to the advancement of human rights on the continent and beyond. You have taken the first step to be instrumental in solving some of the big challenges that society is facing today. Your knowledge and understanding of human rights will be instrumental in dealing with future challenges. I therefore wish you all the best in the coming week as you debate and you make your submissions in the preliminary rounds as well as the final. Finally, I would like to thank Dr. Chris Adomako Kwashe, the acting dean, Mrs. Abigail Zama Anderson, the faculty registrar, as well as Mr. Syed Ahmed, the project coordinator of the African Human Rights Moot Court competition, and Ms. Matukomborera Nyamadzi, the Moot assistant coordinator from the Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria, and all the Center for Human Rights team for all their hard work and dedication, as well as commitment to make this event a success. I wish you all a splendid and rewarding week. May you be challenged and may you be rewarded for having been here and given your best. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Lloyd. All right, so earlier I introduced him as the president for Ashanti Region Ghana Bar Association, but he is the national. Please allow me to welcome Mr. Yao Boafo. He's been very instrumental. I think he launched the Moot Court for us earlier this year. So please, that was before, but he still deserves a round of applause for, availing himself to launch this particular competition earlier on. And so let's welcome him, the president for the Ghana Bar Association, Mr. Yao Boafo.
Dasibre Osebumsu II, Mampohine, occupant of the silver stool, representing His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, Asantehene. Her Ladyship Justice Sophia Boafo Akufu, past Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana as by law established. Professor Rita Akosua Dixon, Vice Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, faculty, academia, students from outside Ghana and Ghana, ladies and gentlemen. I deem it an absolute pleasure to be here this evening at this all-important occasion, the opening ceremony of the 32nd Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court competition on the theme, The Africa We Want, Sexual and Gender Minority Rights in Africa, Climate Change and Corruption. On behalf of the Ghana Bar Association, I say welcome to all participants to the beautiful city of Kumasi, the capital of the Kingdom of Asante and the Ashanti region of the Republic of Ghana. In Kumasi, when we say Akwaba, it means welcome. Nantiye means farewell. So I say Akwaba to our participants visiting from outside the country. And I know by the time we say Nantiye, you will leave Kumasi with unforgettable memories of the legendary Ghanaian hospitality. The choice of Kumasi as the venue for this year's competition is significant, and the symbolism should not be lost on anyone. It is the first time that this competition is being held outside a national capital city. The Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court competition, named after Professor Christof Heyns, Professor of Human Rights Law, Director of the Institute for International and Comparative Law in Africa at the University of Pretoria, who unfortunately died in 2021, is generally considered to be the largest gathering of students, academics, and judges around the theme of human rights in Africa. The journey to become a lawyer starts at the faculty. It is myth then that in most African countries, when one is admitted to read law as an undergraduate in any law faculty, family members go around broadcasting that their loved one is training to be a lawyer. There are 3 stages of the study of law: the academic stage, the professional training stage, and the most important of them all, the pupillage training stage, that's the post-qualification as a lawyer training period. Unfortunately, there is no synergy between the 3 stages of training to become a lawyer, as there is a compartmentalization of each stage of the training to become a lawyer. That is why the opportunity to participate in any moot court competition is to be taken seriously by every law student, as it helps students to inculcate all the habits and follow all the policies and procedures that are followed in legal proceedings in real court situations. It affords students the opportunity to acquire skills that are not ordinarily available at the academic stage of legal training. Students get the opportunity to draft pleadings, conduct research, and argue cases before judges, which is the daily grind of the practice of the law. The theme for this year's competition is very relevant within the context of the challenges facing the continent of Africa. Africa is always dealing with the perennial issue of corruption, by which scarce state resources are plundered and finds their way into private pockets to the detriment of the masses, who have genuine expectations of an improvement in their living conditions, quality of life, and capacity to succeed economically. Corruption affects democratic governance, and by reason of same, significant sections of the population are still poor and struggle to have and afford a decent living. There is a plethora of case studies and reports that show that corruption has led to the situation where a significant number of Africans are either extremely poor or poor, somewhat showing that decades of democratic rule and political stability have not reasonably translated into improving the quality of lives of the people as would have been expected or desired. And it's a sad commentary that after almost 5 decades of independence, Africa is still bedeviled with rampant corruption, plundering, embezzlement, and mismanagement of the public purse. This unending cycle of corruption has given military adventurers the impetus to truncate constitutional democratic rule with its attendant impunity and flagrant abuse of human rights. While we call on governments to continue to implement policies, including novel ones and best practices from around the globe to deal with and contain corruption, in the interim, civil society organizations and professional associations must intensify their advocacy and resort to the use of constitutional and statutory powers to help deal with corruption. An example is the invoking of the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of Ghana by Occupy Ghana, a civil society organization, on the need for the Auditor General to unfailing exercise his constitutional and statutory powers to issue surcharge and disallowances, powers that have received judicial blessing of the Supreme Court against persons and entities cited for stated financial irregularities as one key and effective tool to protect public funds. The poignant symbolism of the choice of Kumasi as the venue for this year's competition relative to the theme may have been lost on the organizers. Kumasi is the heartland of the Asante Nation, where the family line is matrilineal, traced through the female bloodline. One belongs to his or her mother's family, and your hometown is where your mother hails from. Succession to traditional authority is primarily maternal. Thus, gender rights are a fundamental part of Asante culture. It is therefore significant that this competition is being held at KNUST during the tenure of its first female Vice Chancellor. Our ancients included women in traditional authority, as the nomination for one to be considered a chief is within the exclusive preserve of the Queen Mother. And we have not done bad as a nation, especially in the legal profession. 30 years of constitutional democracy, we've had 3 female chief justices. We've had 3 female attorney generals, 2 chairpersons of our electoral commission, 1 female speaker of parliament, and our oldest university must be the only university in the world where the vice chancellor, the chairperson of council, and the registrar are all females. And I know that currently in the KNUST Law Faculty, there are more female students than there are male students. I say this because in discussing gender roles in Africa, there is a tendency to approach it from a simple angle. Everything African is a cake, and everything Western is right and proper. Inasmuch as we have to completely eradicate harmful and backward traditional and cultural practices that harm women and retard their development, we should be mindful not to embrace carte blanche Western theories of gender that seem to be more of a civil war between men and women, as opposed to a cooperation between men and women to achieve gender equality. Africa must take a critical look at practices that harm an environment. Governments must invest in modern technology relative to food production so that arcane production methods like bush burning, wanton destruction of forest reserves become a thing of the past. In Ghana, we have seen our water bodies and environment gradually being destroyed by illegal mining, locally referred to as galamsey. If we go on as we're doing, the future will be bleak for the younger generation. The Ghana Bar Association is very happy to associate itself with this year's Moot court competition being hosted by the Law Faculty of KNUST. Unfortunately, I cannot be neutral, as I'll be chairing the Law Faculty of KNUST to victory, for the simple reason that I do not intend to be a respondent in a matrimonial cause if I remain neutral. I need peace in my home. My wife is an alumni of KNUST Law Faculty, so I have to say stay safe. On a lighter note, and just before I take my seat, I'll ask all participants, especially those visiting Ghana for the first time, to take time off to explore this beautiful city and other parts of the country, and to enjoy the famed Ghanaian hospitality, and also not to forget to indulge in our culinary delights, especially our participants from Nigeria, since the determination that Ghana has the best jollof is now res judicata. You'll also discover that Ghana is the only country on planet Earth that is so friendly. Our crocodiles are even friendly. I wish you the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. you wouldn't mind if we take another interlude. Would you mind if we do another interlude? Well, let's welcome once again Ejako Onimo. All right, so let me try to explain this one again. This music is an original Ejako Adoa infusion, original high life. I know you heard about high life music, And Ejakonimo is legendary because when you mention high life music, his name stands tall in Ghana. So you're here experiencing Ejakonimo, and I hope you take it with you that in your country, when you hear Ejakonimo, high life music, you remember this experience. So please give him another round of applause. Our guest of honor this evening is His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. By representing him this evening is Dasibre Osei Bonsu, Mamponhene and the occupant of the Silver Stool of Asanteman. Please indulge me to give you a biography, and you understand why he's so special to us here at KNUST. Dasibre Osei Bonsu, known in private life as Saint Oswald Jima Kese, is the Mamponhene and the occupant of the Silver Stool of Asanteman and Vice President for the Ashanti Regional House of Chiefs. Dasibre had his secondary education at Prempeh College. He proceeded to the University of Ghana. UG, are you here? University of Ghana, you heard it right? All right, so he pursued a combined degree, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Political Science, and Modern History at the University of Ghana. He also holds a Bachelor of Law, a barrister and a solicitor of the Superior Court of Ghana, a certificate in Higher Education Administration course from Manchester, UK, and a certificate in Higher Education program from the University of Warwick and Oxford, also from the UK. In 2013, KNUST honored him with a Doctor of Literature. Dasibre was installed as the Mamponhene on the 25th of August, 1996, becoming the 28th paramount chief of Asante Mampon traditional area and became the occupant of the Silver Stool in Ashanti Kingdom. Dasibre has served on several committees, including the Committees of Council, Committees of Vice Chancellors Ghana, Patron, Ghana Heart Foundation, Kumasi Chairman, Ashanti Standing Committee, Member, National House of Chiefs, Chairman, Legal Affairs Committee, Representative of the NHC on Land Administration Project, and Judicial Council. Now, this is why he is so special to us here at KNUST. He is a former registrar and a secretary to council at KNUST. Please allow me to welcome Dasibre Osei Bonsu. The second, please be upstanding as we invite him to the podium.
Emanating from my majesty, King of the Ashanti Nation, Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, and currently the chairman of the no mean University of Kwame Nkrumah, University of Science and Technology. At the moment when our dynamic and illustrious first female vice chancellor escorted me to the Great Hall, you know what sparked through my hair? I watched our little baby vice chancellor in faculties, now the great vice chancellor holding the helm of affairs of our great university, can turn the clock for me to go back to 1972, 1st July, when I got engaged here. And I must confess, I was a terrible young assistant registrar. vivacious everywhere, faculties, etc., name it, halls, this and that. I enjoyed the job of being an assistant registrar. And I'm proud to assert and say that my association with KNUST, it started KNUST, that is Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and then, lo and behold, through the barrel of the gun, it changed to become University of what? University of Science and Technology. Fortunately, this time it wasn't through the barrel of the gun, but constitutional means. And then it changed over, and it is now Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. The first science and technological institution established along the West Coast and the East Africa. And I'm proud to say that whilst we were young men, assistant registrar, this and that, before promoted to senior assistant registrar, etc., most of our top-notch at that time, professors, late Benakwe, this and that, name them, our university, embarking upon the philosophy of the great Kwame Nkrumah, were allowed to go on sabbatical leave and literally established a lot of dynamic faculties, etc., in East African universities, and then along the West Coast also. For instance, you take Port Harcourt University, a lot of the then professors here were involved in creating University of Port Harcourt. And even myself, when I was a deputy registrar, had some kind of a escapade over there. But fortunately, unfortunately for me, the then administrative top echelon realized that, pardon me, I'm not sounding boastful, I was too high for them. So the interview that they invited me to, it tended to be just ordinary conversation. Thereafter, they graciously thanked me and bade me bye-bye. So, in a nutshell, still, I'm proud to be associated with Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And those of us who are now pensioners from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, fortunately, again, by our own bylaws and rules and regulations, I'm still a statutory member of the community of KNUST, a member of convocation. Regulations and rules and whatnot still permit. You don't retire below age 55, and you don't retire having served not below 10 years, etc. And most of us, we went beyond that. So proudly, I'm a member of convocation over here. Madam, we'll continue serving you and we'll continue serving you. Till the good Lord take us away. In my case, my greatest ancestors. But it isn't time yet. Now, going to the subject of the day. It is my humble duty to be here to represent Asante Mai and the great Asante Kingdom, our vivacious Majesty Otumfuo, who is the Chancellor of this university, to come join Vice Chancellor and, of course, Law Faculty to play the role of receiving all of you over here. And from what I hear, through tete-a-tete and this and that, Vice Chancellor and the staff of the Faculty of Law have not disappointed Otumfuo. They are working around the clock to receive you. When I turn over the brochure, which has just been handed over to me, at the back you can see committee, 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 committee. I'm really happy and proud. And as Asantes, we have a custom, touched on a little by my son, now currently the head of the bar. That is, he's now the current president of the Bar Association, the whole Ghana, not only Ashanti here. He started from Ashanti, and then subsequently he's now the bar president of the Bar Association, the whole Ghana. he's touched on. Please, the rank and file of the students, in statu populare, as we term it here on our campus, please, please, please feel at home and feel the length and breadth of Kumasi, the land of gold. Please, the keys have been handed to me by Illustrious Majesty Otumfuo, and I've handed it over to the Vice Chancellor. So the doors to Kumasi are unlocked. She's here. And I know the way she is, too much kind-hearted. She will open the Kumasi doors for you students to savor and to have some flavor of what is happening 24 hours. So please, students, in statu populare, don't hesitate. That is the significance, cultural significance of the word Akwaba, 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 that I've seen my daughter. She's not watching. I remember I met her first, a petite like this, at K Poly. I attended some function over there, and I enticed her, hey, you are young. You will grow to become a super big lady. Come. Now here you are. She's getting to the top of the echelon of the registers department. I'm proud, and I'm happy. So please, start students, not only the academic program that you've come over here, of course, is the primary obligation you have to undertake, but still, don't forget the cultural aspects of Kumasi. Her Ladyship, Justice Sophia Abena Bofua Akufo, former Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, who is going to deliver a keynote, part of the keynote speakers, who is going to play a part in it. And here, just by the by, I know she doesn't want me to say it, but I'll say it. I served there as representative of the National House of Chiefs. Currently, I'm the chairman of the Legal Affairs Committee of the National House of Chiefs. And I served her as a paramountcy, the whole part of her tenure to the end. And I must confess, we appreciated, I don't want to use the Christian word worship, we appreciated and adored her because she had glorious leadership qualities. So if the two of us meet alone, I'll just whisper in her ears, "Sweetie Sophia," and then she will respond. But now, no, it's formality. Ex-Chief Justice. You're graciously welcome. Should I say, graciously welcome, Sweet Sophia, or Your Excellency Sophia? Thank you. And then Miss Mercy Labi, Deputy Commissioner, Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice. I haven't met her so far. She's on her way coming. I hope so. So that at least these students will meet her. She's doing a human job. This job she's undertaking in Accra, no joke. Pressmen hit her left and right and whatnot and whatnot. She's going to deliver the conference keynote speaker. Then Dr. My own young friend is not here, in charge of her education, but she will definitely get the message from the Vice Chancellor. Then the Foreign Affairs also, Madame Shelley Aiko also is not here. And then, I don't know whether Gottfried is here. Boafo, is Gottfried here? He's also not here. And what about any representation by him? Then tomorrow morning, take it that is an order from me. Ring him that you should send a representative to be here. Yes, he is heading the judiciary arm of Ghana government. Ring him. Tell me that it is that. Tell him it is from his daddy. Please, he's heading the judiciary. Tell him to come so that the students can drink from the font of honor of brain that he has. Because he is good and he's an institute lawyer. Thank you. Sit down, my son. The Vice Chancellor have already praised our own female, first female, vivacious Vice Chancellor. Pro-Vice Chancellor, the Registrar, who's now inherited my headache over here. And incidentally, by the time I was leaving, he was part and parcel of the fresh assistant registrars that I had recruited. Now he's here. He's in charge of the administration. And not only that, at the time that I was retiring, I remember I boasted to some of the council members that the chairman was, I think, Odinohu Brahafu, who is dead now. He used to be a dean of, Agric. I remember boasting to him that I'm going, but I am cocksure that the next 6 generation behind me, 2, 3 deputy registrars, senior assignments and whatnot, no one can beat them. They will all fall in line, take over the registrarship post and so on. And lo and behold, it's come true. The last assistant registrar is here. By the time I was leaving, he was the assistant registrar in charge of Vice Chancellor's office. I specifically chose him to handle that schedule, but he wouldn't open his mouth to talk. And I realized he was what we call quote and unquote kife. So Vice Chancellor's documents will be safe. Now he's working effectively, from what I hear from Madam and Deans of Faculties. I'm proud of you. Provosts of colleges, directors and deans, heads of departments, and then it comes to, of course, S. Nananom, distinguished members of the university community, and I've realized the crowd isn't all that great. Our students are off. We haven't reopened. No wonder. Students in Statu Populari, then invited guests, media, my good friends, media men, they're everywhere with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you royal felicitation from His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei II, Asante Hene, and the Chancellor of this great institution. I warmly welcome you all to Kumasi, the capital of the Asante Kingdom and the garden city of Ghana. And I term it as the Kingdom of Gold. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to represent His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei II, Asante Hene, at this opening ceremony of the 32nd Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court competition, the largest gathering of students, academics, and judges around the theme of human rights in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to state that the 32nd edition of this very important competition is unique and historic in sharp and form because it is being hosted on the campus of the #1 destination for quality education globally. That is why I asserted that those of us who are now termed as retirees, the senior members, we're proud of our current Vice Chancellor and the current cream of heads of department and deans of faculty. We've left you, but we never bother to turn our head back to look at you because you are all holding the fort. And now see it, the title that has dawned on our university. Please, young heads of department, deans, under our vivacious Vice Chancellor, we the retirees who are still members of convocation, I dawn off my heart. No, Abutri, to greet all of you. Thank you. You're doing a yeoman's job because holding an academic institution like ours during this unfortunate period of where funding from GOG, Ghana government, is dwindling down. By the time I came here as a young boy, 72, young man, 72, funds were available. See halls of residence, students getting their, they call it bangla, allowances and etc. and so on. Now where is it? From what I've been told, because I'm still looking after some students. And the hostel, the fee has jumped up. So I asked the poor little girl, how come you coming for over 6,000 plus compared to last year? He said, Daddy, Nana, now check the items. I pay electricity, I pay water. See, but yet, the current cream of heads of department, deans of faculties, they are working around the clock. And the university, I've seen that in my speech, it's been made black in deep ink. #1 destination for quality education globally. I'm happy. Heads of department, keep it up. You are doing your man's work. And also, on the soil of Asanteman, I therefore, on behalf of Otumfuo and Asanteman Council, wish you a very peaceful deliberation and a memorable stay in Kumasi, in UST, KNUST and Kumasi. It is indeed instructive to mention that His Royal Majesty has been a beacon of hope for the teeming youth in Ghana in his philanthropic work towards promoting access to an equal education to every young person of school-going age, especially the underprivileged in society, for which we must all be proud of. He is enthusiastic about gatherings of this nature, as he firmly believes that such events present an opportunity for you young people to showcase the skills and knowledge acquired by you during your studies, displaying critical thinking skills, and then also we let their voices be heard on matters of national importance. Therefore, the importance of competitions of this nature cannot be overemphasized. Ladies and gentlemen, I am aware that during the establishment of the Faculty of Law, KNUST, in 2003, His Majesty blessed the initiative and offered his support to help expand legal education in the country. This faculty has always been the pride of His Royal Majesty and Nananum of the Asante Kingdom, as it has often done. His Majesty and KNUST are proud that last year, the Faculty of Law, KNUST, emerged as the 31st Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court competition winner. And we've all heard the elaboration espoused by our Vice Chancellor. Swooping 10 awards across various categories. I am delighted at a gathering of this nature is taking place on the soil of the Asante Kingdom, to not only engage in an academic competition, but to deliberate on key and pertinent issues such as corruption, sexual minority rights, and harmful practices of the environment, which have over the years been topical across Africa. In Ghana, harmful practices such as illegal mining, locally termed as galamsey, have been topical. As academic minds gather, I urge you to deliberate on practical ways to curb the menace, which is inimical to our well-being. I want to assure you the resolve of Asanteman to assist government in fighting this canker and task the organizers to present a communique on the way forward with regard to the illegal mining. That is really bedeviling. If we take Madagara, it's bedeviling us. But at least our own Ghanaians here, who constitute as members of the echelon, top echelon in the Ghana government administration, some of us paramouncies have been bold, and we've stuck our neck and chest out to challenge government-established commissions, mineral commission, etc., etc. Far from sounding boastful, I kick them out of my kingdom, that you can't come to Mount Paul to come and dig any hole, that you want gold. I set the pace, and now others, at least within the Ashanti Kingdom here, the Paramounts, have been bold and assertive in challenging the Minerals Commission. So please come out with if not a permanent recommendation, some kind of semblance of recommendation to curb this cancerous galamsey taking place in Ghana. Good source of drinking waters, all polluted and gone. But I'm happy. Come to my kingdom, Mampong, at the hills over there. All the 7 sources of rivers on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side behind where we have St. Monica, that is 5 over there. Nananum have bestowed on us. Clean and okay. Flowing from 1st January to 31st December. I don't have water shortage in our kingdom, Mampong. This is what we hope other paramounts will emulate. Yes, I can undertake easily, be selfish, allow these so-called Chinese people, and I understand majority of them off the record, I don't know even how to term them. They come and bribe us, entice us with money, this and that. In my case, knocking fee alone, we can't talk about it over here. I would have put up about 6-story building, and then what for? My people, ancestors have left them for us. They look after me and I look after them. Then I spoil their water. No. So please come out in your final communique. Some bold statement about this source of canker and illegality. It's part of your theme over here. My dear students, scholars, academics, and judges herein gathered to discuss issues bordering on human rights at the Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court competition. I want you to know that such discussion cannot be complete without infusing perspectives, underlying cultural diversity, and positive customary practices in our society. Therefore, Otumfuo wants me to suggest that at the next workshop or conference, I know it can be in Ghana, outside, please, therefore, I suggest to the organizer that in the future, as much as the theme admits to it, selected traditional rulers should be invited to participate and be heard on their views about such topical and sensitive human rights issues. You can hear me, I'm not part and parcel of it, but there are some kind of issues. At the moment, you younger generation, you tell me there's challenges that will easily crop up in paramountcies, holders, our minds, and etc. So please, the organizers who will be in charge of the next one, bear it in mind that traditional rulers of African areas, you go to East Africa, countless of them. You go to Nigeria, especially the western side, and then up to Kano, countless of them. With regard to East Africa, they can easily recall the Shaka, the Zulu, and the rest, and so on and so forth. They laid foundation traditional rules that subsequently they were able to throw away the whites in the East Africa, ending up in what? South Africa, etc., etc. So please, most of us, I won't say all of us, we have fountains of honor vis-a-vis education and knowledge here. Let us be part and parcel of your subsequent conferees or conferences. That will be all right. So this is just a humble appeal to the organizers. Aren't you clapping for that suggestion? No, I want to hear my younger instatu popularity. Thank you, thank you. A broader discussion will open our minds to all perspectives and allow us to start seeking ways to understand and address the concerns of those who may not agree with us. As a former registrar of this university and a chief of no mean standing, I do not doubt that this event would direct our minds to finding possible solutions to the myriad of problems captured in the theme for the competition, and help promote and protect human rights in the context of African culture. And here, my own personal remark of the record. When I sitting down near Madam Vice Chancellor and I turned around and read from the caption over here, one thing that struck me, but my distinguished guest speaker over there touched on it, just a sentence, Uganda. They passed some kind of, legislation and whatnot and whatnot. And to most of us, the chiefs over here, to our horror, hey, the aid you've applied for, the support you've applied for in, as usual, dollars from what? World Bank. Is it not that one? We're suspending it. Good Lord. We should sit here, cut our own culture. Me, sit here, because of that, I've done what? I've acquired degrees in the European universities, like, those here we've established. I should throw away our culture we've inherited from time immemorial, before the white man came over here, before the Portuguese pretended they were putting up castles at Elmina and whatnot. To throw them away because of what? Dollars over there. I permit a man to kiss a man, and a man to kiss a man, and a woman to kiss a man. Please, I don't need to talk about it over here. We are waiting for you, our younger ones. You start to popularity when you check that topic in your moot of court. For heaven's sake, don't say that Uganda must be ostracized just because they were bold to have passed a bill into law. Ghana, we have ours in parliament. And lo betides those parliamentarians, if they can about it, and emulate what is happening in America, they'll come and meet us in our respective kingdoms. This is just off the record. My own personal views, please. I'm not echoing Otumfuo's as I take in his views. They are my personal views. It's sickening. Once again, on behalf of His Majesty, Otumfuo the Chancellor of this great university, I welcome you all to Kumasi and Kwame Nkrumah University. Do have a fruitful and
On that high note, I would also like to welcome our keynote speaker for the evening, Justice Sophia Abena Boafua Ekofo, retired Justice of the Supreme Court and a former Chief Justice. I don't even want to attempt to introduce her again because the Supreme's own supersedes mine.
You have to give me a few minutes whilst my tab is heating up. But to start off with, after that very comprehensive salutation by Dasibre Osebunsu, I will simply say that with your leave, Dasibre, and your leave, Vice Chancellor, I will stand by those protocols and go straight to what I have to say. But since my tab hasn't fully opened yet, there are a few things I would like to say, because as I was sitting there and I saw the logo of the Center for Human Rights, University of Pretoria, I remembered the impact that institute had on at least on some of us, the first judges of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, because we found ourselves in Tanzania, we found ourselves meeting in the building of the Rwanda UN Rwanda court, no library, no staff, about 3 people we had borrowed from the African Union, and then the center, the conference center where we were meeting, they lent us their protocol officer, whom we poached eventually because she was so good. And for some of us, we might have been very good lawyers domestically, but when it came to continental forum like that, we were quite novices, and getting access to, or knowing how to, or where to even access all the necessary texts and information was not that easy. But then we got a visit from Professor Franz Villon, who came with a whole load of books, each was a compendium of all the applicable human rights instruments and documents for Africa. And that was really, really a godsend. It's still my go-to, the series is still my go-to source of reference, because as time goes on, the center seems to update with all the new relevant human rights texts that come. So I wish to send a message to Prof. Villian that I still remember him and I still appreciate what he did for the African Court on Human and People's Rights. And he was always very, very interested in everything we were doing, and practically every session he would come and spend a day or two just to see what was going on. My tab is still slowly opening. Secondly, I would also like to say, and this is also personal and off the record, when Dasibre was praising the caliber of products from this university, I was telling myself, should I or shouldn't I dare to agree with him? And to even go to the extent of saying that whilst I was a judge, whenever we had the opportunity to have the former dean is nodding because I did say it to her. Whenever I had the choice of who would be my legal assistant to help me with my research, I would always say, I want a student from KNUST. I don't have to teach them anything. They know how to do research. And I still say so. And indeed, when I became Chief Justice, there was a young judge who was then in the circuit court in Cape Coast, I think. And he had been one of my first research assistants. And I said, please bring him from the court to my chambers. And so throughout my tenure as Chief Justice, Amoakun was my legal officer, making sure that all the research was done properly and all the young lawyers who were sent to help there were working as they should. So, KNUST, thank you, and please keep it up. And I'm very happy to see you. Now, I wish to start by saying just what a great honor it is for me to be invited to present the keynote address at this opening ceremony of the 32nd Christof Heyns African Human Rights Moot Court competition. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. The theme of this competition is, to my mind, one of great importance, in that It captures the core issues with which the participants representing the next generation of leaders of Africa will have to grapple with and resolve in whatever sphere of operation they will exercise their profession. This moot court session is therefore a trial run, and I look forward to great advocacy and brilliant arguments that will assure us that the Africa we want, in accordance with the AU Agenda 2063, will be fully executed. Human rights are God-given and are part of every individual. These rights are innate to the mere fact of being a human entity living on planet Earth. They are not granted by another human being or institution. Nobody gives anybody their human rights, only God did. At most, they are acknowledged as pre-existent and declared in whatever form that declaration may be. The acknowledgement and protection of human rights, therefore, lies at the heart of Agenda 2063, and the peaceful, prosperous, stable Africa we want is only possible if laws for governance for each state, group, or society reflect this, provided that in the interest of cohesion and the greater common good, causes are also acknowledged. Though we come into the world individually, we are social beings and our survival is dependent on our orderly coexistence. It is through law, which are nothing but standards, rules, and regulations, that states, which are nothing more than groups and societies, organize themselves with success, always bearing in mind that the human spirit cannot be suppressed, oppressed, or repressed indefinitely. It will break out eventually. Every human organization needs sets of laws of governance, for you cannot have governance without law acceptable to the greater number of the group. Over centuries and decades, culminating in the second half of the 20th century, it became broadly accepted that, one, there can be no peace without assuring that as many persons as possible are enabled to have voice in the public space. Democracies are nothing unless fundamental human rights are respected and protected by nations and amongst peoples, whether formally, such as Bill of Rights, or informally, as common standards of behavior and standards. And finally, or thirdly, mechanisms for application and enforcement of human rights are also sine quibus non for the, this thing, pardon me, you know how things keep popping up on your page, for the assurance and strengthening of such protections. Now, I will just briefly talk about the human rights normative framework, which I believe is familiar to all the participants here, but it's always good to remind ourselves that there's a whole body of human rights laws and standards and norms which are applicable. And although in many cases they are neglected, ignored, sometimes even contravened, they are there. And we must never forget that they are there for the protection of the rights of the individual. On 10th December 1948, The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was proclaimed through Resolution 217A. Some call it the mother of human rights, and certainly from its inception, its tenets have formed the basis and the litmus test for human rights law and standards across the world. And whether a state is to be considered as one that respects human rights or not, this is now determined by the extent to which the fundamental principles of rights enshrined in the Universal Declarations are observed. In Africa, it is certainly the ground base of the African Union norms, established through the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, to which we have sought to graft African values to make it special and peculiar to us, so that we don't become cast adrift in the way which Mr. Boafo mentioned and Nana Dasibre also very vehemently mentioned. In 1981, the Organization of African Unity, now we will call it the African Union, adopted the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. And the Charter entered into force in October 1986. It has been ratified by all 55 members of the African Union, all the countries on the African continent. The African Charter on Human and People's Rights is grounded on the OAU Charter's stipulation that freedom, equality, justice, and dignity are essential objectives for the achievement of legitimate aspirations of the African peoples. The underlying truth of this stipulation has certainly not changed, regardless of whether or not it is evident in reality. The key provisions of the African Charter include Article 3, every individual shall be equal before the law and entitled to equal protection of the law. Article 5, everyone has the right to respect and dignity inherent in a human being. Article 6, every individual shall have the right and liberty to the security of his or her person. Every individual has a right to have his or her cause heard, the right to due process of law. That's Article 7. Article 8, the duty of the state to ensure elimination of all forms of discrimination. That's Article 8. And Article 15, every individual shall have the right to work under equitable and satisfactory conditions and shall receive equal pay for equal work. You know, sometimes I'm amazed at how advanced some of these provisions are. There are countries in the West where they are still fighting and quibbling and marching just for the acceptance of the principle of equal pay for equal work. The African Charter in the 1990s came to this and enacted it. And it is presumed to be part of every country's obligations. The Charter set up the African Commission on Human and People's Rights with a mandate to protect and promote the rights under the African Charter without power to make enforceable decisions. But since the protection and promotion of human rights cannot be effectively assured without an avenue for enforcement, eventually in 1998, the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the establishment of the African Court on Human and People's Rights was adopted, which became effective in 2004. Now, quite apart from the continental instruments I have mentioned, a whole gamut of international instruments also become applicable in the African Court on Human and People's Rights as sources of law by virtue of Article 18 of the Charter, including the UDHR, the UN Refugee Convention, the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, etc., etc., etc. So long as they are considered to be international law norms, they are applicable. And any human rights instruments that are ratified by respondent states before the African Court. Currently, the African Court is the only operational continental judicial forum for the enforcement of the instruments and laws for the protection of human rights in Africa, and is intended to complement the protective mandate of the Commission on Human and People's Rights. Now, although under its establishment protocol, the African Court has the power to make enforceable decisions, as experience has shown over the years since its establishment, there is an enforcement gap. Obedience of the court's decisions and orders remain largely dependent on the respondent state's political will. And in my experience, there were some countries which would fulfill the conditionalities or the terms of judgments and orders of the court. But there were some, and there still are some, who would say, "Who are you to tell us what to do? We are sovereign." These are some of the weaknesses which hopefully you future advocates, not only before the African Court, but who will become politicians, who will become diplomats, who will become top officials at the African Union, you should make it your duty and your mission to ensure that proper mechanisms for enforcement of decisions of the Continental Court that the African Union itself has established will be useful. You pay them, you've provided court space for them, you invite, they are members of, they are actually an organ of the African Union. Why waste their money? Why waste their time? Why waste the resources? And why waste all the opportunities that arise from having a court like that? Now, there have been many other rights-based continental instruments following the African Charter aimed at particularizing the assurance of the protection and promotion of human rights in Africa, such as on the rights of women, on the rights of the child, on the youth. There's even one on older persons, which is yet to come into effect. Now, and Ghana has not yet ratified and should do so. So, Ghana Bar Association, make sure that it gets done. Indeed, the Constitutive Act of the African Union itself continues in the spirit of the African Union, and in its Article 3E and H sets out the objectives of the AU to, among others, encourage international cooperation, taking into account the UN Charter and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as well as to promote and protect human and people's rights in accordance with the African Charter. And also, the guiding principles of the African Union include respect for democratic principles, human rights, the rule of law, and good governance in accordance with Article M of the Constitutive Act of the African Union. So, on the continental level, there is acknowledgement and there is commitment declared, commitment to the protection and promotion of human rights. At the regional level, there are various treaty-based groupings primarily intended to facilitate and promote trade and movement of people within the continental regions of Africa. However, it's noteworthy that almost all these instruments also have provisions that recognize the crucial importance of human rights protection and promotion, which is the only way you can assure buoyant economies and vibrant trade, whether within the nations, whether within regions or across the continent. And Article 1 of the African Charter provides as follows. The member states of the African Organization of African Unity, remember that at the time of the Charter it was the OAU, not the AU, parties to the present Charter shall recognize the rights, duties, and freedoms enshrined in this chapter and shall undertake to adopt legislative or other measures to give effect to them. Thus, most of the rights protection provisions in the constitutions of African states are offshoots of the UDHR and of the African Charter. So that, for instance, the Constitution of Ghana has, among others, the protection of the dignity of individuals. No person, whether arrested or restrained, may be subjected to torture, and so on and so forth. Anti-slavery provisions. No one shall be required to perform forced labor. All persons are equal before the law. A person is not to be discriminated against on grounds of gender, race, color, ethnic origin, religion, creed, or social or economic status. Quite apart from these direct rights protecting constitutional provisions, there are constitutional provisions which serve as indirect sources of rights protecting laws by creating the opportunity for the application of other laws or standards considered to be inherent in a democracy and intended to secure the freedom and dignity of man. So this is similar. There is a similar provision in Article 33(5) of the Ghanaian Constitution, and the Constitution of Uganda also has provisions that define human rights laws applicable to domestic courts to include human rights laws which are not specifically mentioned in the Constitution, but which are considered to be necessary for assuring the dignity of the human. Apply other human rights instruments, whether or not they have been specifically domesticated or not. That is my view. And such national legislation, and in some countries, some member states, they actually have provisions in their legislations that domesticate and implement international and continental, regional and instruments. And such legislation, acts of parliament domesticating a particular right protecting instrument, ensures direct application of such instruments by domestic courts. In situations where states do not domesticate such international, continental, and regional instruments, even though they might have signed or ratified them, it makes it difficult to implement these in the domestic setting. And the relevant instruments cannot be applied directly by the domestic courts of the state in question as source of its domestic law. This is another enforcement gap. Some states have, however, taken steps to domesticate some of the international, continental, and regional rights protection instruments. But another indirect way of ensuring enforcement of such laws is, of course, litigation before the African Court, whose decisions are binding on all countries that have ratified the protocol. Now, I have taken the trouble to sketch out in these very, very broad strokes the existing architecture for the protection of human rights in Africa, simply to demonstrate that they exist, even if still largely on paper. It is essential that in the quest towards the achievement of the Africa we want, the value of the human entity is not lost sight of, which is the reason these norms exist and ought to be utilized and improved upon. And that is also similar to the call that Dasibre made to participants in this competition. When there's an unjustifiable exclusion, when environmental degradation to satisfy parochial ends, or there is corruption that cuts across the entire fabric of human existence, then the outcomes cannot be desirable. And collectively, the Africa we want will continue to be unattainable. In this address, therefore, I deliberately avoided delving to any depth or extent on the thematic areas of this competition, as one would be more interested in the debate and brilliant arguments with which the participants are going to dazzle the judges. All I wish to say that legal arguments of today may become the mores and ethos of tomorrow. In the submissions that will be made here, let the participants bear in mind, however, that the Africa we want should be a place suited for us, enshrining our core values such as the family and the sanctity of life, and not merely cloned from outside influences. The Africa we want, however prosperous we envisage it to be, must be sustainable with pristine forests, clean rivers and streams, and clean, breathable air, not denuded dust bowls with poisonous water created by live for today policies and practices. That's why I was very happy to hear what Dasibre had to say about how he has dealt with the Minerals Commission. You live for today policies. That's what they have been pushing, and that has resulted in the pollution and degradation of our environment. The Africa we want is a safe space of full accountability and strong protective institutions and leadership, demonstrably good governance in every sector, predictable justice for all, measured by exacting standards that truly assure to each a high quality of life, and that none is left behind. Now, this is going to have to be the duty and the life commitment of each and every participant in this competition. The competition is not for fun. The competition is a practice run. So, I wish you bon chance. I pray that your competition will go well for each one of you. Whoever wins, whoever loses is a winner and a loser. But everybody is a winner. So, thank you all very much. And may God bless the people of Africa. Thank you.
Oh, please be upstanding as she takes her seat. Please be seated. Thank you so much, Justice Akufo. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll just be wrapping up. Just a few announcements before we call it an evening. We're going to have dinner at the Royal Parade Ground. We just thought you should experience the Kumasi skies this evening. So please follow our volunteers. They will usher you. It's just here, just a few meters, about 100 meters. Well, we're going to the Impact Building. Okay, so we're going to go to the Impact Building. Then we'll come back here. For the Akwaba night. I think the attire was to be in an African wear. And I already see you all dressed up. So go have dinner and then we'll come back here for the Akwaba night. All right. But please don't leave yet. You're breaking protocol if you leave us as yet. So please remain seated as we invite Father now to give us the closing prayer.
May I please beg your indulgence to please rise for prayers. Our help is in the name of the Lord who made heaven and earth. Almighty and ever-living God, we are so much grateful to you for the gift of our lives. We thank you for our dear continent, Africa. We thank you for our dear nations and universities. We thank you for Jenny Mercies and for gathering all of us here in the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology to have this 32nd Christof Heyns competition. It is our prayer that you grant us all the blessings and favors that we need, that in even exhibiting our academic excellence, we will also be tracing ways through which our dear continent will continue to grow in strength and in growth. We thank you for all our guests of honor. We thank you for using them to communicate your words, knowledge, and to impact our lives. It is our prayer that you grant them journey mercies back to their destinations. Bless them and direct them in all that we do. And for all competitors, it is our prayer that you give us all the graces that we need to exhibit our skill in these competitions. These and many blessings we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you so much, Father Na. Please be upstanding as we take our recession. Please remain where you are. Thank you all very much for coming. All participants who wanted to join the WhatsApp group, please remain here. If you wanted to join the WhatsApp group, for all the participants, please don't leave. Remain here. Your numbers will be taken and added to the WhatsApp group. Please wait for the buses to take you to Impact for dinner. We'll come back here after dinner. Thank you all. Have a glorious day and all the best tomorrow as we begin the competitions.